Good morning. Hello, everyone. It is the 8th day of March, 2025. Hope this Saturday morning finds you all well and welcome in. Welcome back. Good to see ya. And thanks so much for choosing to be with me on this Saturday morning. Your girl Jay is still drinking her coffee. I hope you all have your coffee or your tea or orange juice or whatever it is you drink in the morning. Miss Machete, let me read your message. I'm watching. Huh. I don't know who any of those are that you wrote, but I'm glad. I'm glad they're turned. Oh, before they turned. Oh, goodness. Well, like I said yesterday, and I'm glad you bring that up because we can talk. Your coffee's brewing, all I need. Wonderful. Um, Remember, friends, we do have a couple people who are having eye issues, mods, so they will be writing in all caps. Just to let you know, we've had a couple of eye surgeries and eye issues going on. So, real quick, yes, since you're bringing up the haters, we are going to be talking about not Sebastian today, right now at this time, but I do want to start with that. Yesterday we've been getting footage of Sebastian that is amazing to watch. Absolutely, I would have loved it a year ago. Absolutely, it's probably damage control. Absolutely, in my opinion, it may be just to make us see that there's a different relationship or fall for a different relationship that may not have been there because we've heard of what was going on, allegedly. So I think it's damage control. Hold on, I can't get my desk comfortable with my coffee cup. It's this early Saturday morning, right? I think that regardless, it's so good for us. And I'm going to come in and greet all of you in just a second. It's so good for all of us to get to watch Sebastian, see his how smart he is. Oh my goodness. How attentive. Hi, Adriana. Hello, everyone. It was just beautiful to see. And we watched it twice yesterday and on live, but I also watched it many, many times just watching Sebastian. So we're talking about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, and may he be brought home. And don't forget to hit the notification bell because tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, we are set up to talk about the children of Hendersonville. 11 from the time Sebastian went missing, then go 11 months to January, 4 children. You have the first homicide in Hendersonville in January of 2025 was a 16-year-old who was shot and unalive by an 18-year-old. We have Piper Elliott, whose mother drowned her, not far from where Sebastian lives. We have Sebastian, who's been missing since February 26 and is still missing. And then Trinity Bostic, back in July, her remains were found in Hendersonville. And if you recall that case when we were covering it, I kept saying, why don't we see anything missing about her? There was nothing. She was reported missing like June 29th out of Macon County, Tennessee. No Amber Alerts, no alerts whatsoever. And when I inquired back then, they said, well, it's because we knew where she was. Huh? They were looking for a few days and they found her. They knew she wasn't in Macon County, they said. So it made no sense. But apparently that has sparked some conversations. I found an article about Amber Alerts in Tennessee because Trinity was found, her remains, and they felt like they could have gotten to her quicker. Also with Trinity, a 17-year-old was arrested for her and is being charged. And then we have, of course, our sweet Sebastian, who is still missing. So hit the notification bell, subscribe if you haven't. We have our members live today at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We always have a good time. So welcome in, everyone. So glad you're here. Mini Panthers, Lexi Lynn, Miss Machete, Fine Summer's Truth. Hello, hello. Oh, you're still sick? I'm so sorry to hear it. You've been listening? Oh, good. Miss Machete, Adriana, All I Need is Jesus. Love your name, by the way. I just love it. All I need is Jesus, coffee, and true crime. Amen. Miss Machete, Robin. Well, a smaller house today, huh? Than we normally have. Probably because it's early Saturday morning, right? Usually early weekday mornings were a little bit crowded. So hello, Toad Kiss in Queen. And it also could be because I'm not talking about Sebastian in this one. And that's okay. So we have a lot going. Hey, Stephen. Stephen, I emailed you back. I sent you a little email. And I'm going to email you again today because I have another question. But thanks for checking in. Don't forget 6:30 p.m., the Children of Hendersonville tonight. Yes, I know many Panthers. I don't know how to do it unless you're here. So I'll write myself a note right now to go into the live after and mod you. I have to go in afterwards and do it because if I try and click on it through StreamYard, it won't let me do it. Hey, Brown Eye Girls. Okay, so I need to mod my the mini Panthers. Thank you so much, and thank you for all the work you've been doing as well. Wonderful. So we have some surprises lately happening in the news, quite a few of them, in my opinion. Of course, Casey Anthony has emerged again and continues to emerge and she's like the Energizer Bunny, never stops. So she's back in the media. We will be talking about that. I have her beautiful daughter, victim, Caylee'S picture right next to her, unalived and left in an area near her home to decompose in a bag. We're going to talk about, I really am encouraging everyone not to go over and give her attention. Okay. And we'll get to it. Then we got BK, Bryan Kohberger, our doctoral student in criminology who is being charged with the crimes of unaliving, massacring 4 Idaho students, Caylee'S, Maddie, Zanna, and Ethan. Let me take this banner down so we can see Ethan. And they have filed so many motions, motion after motion after motion after motion. And it's just one thing after another. He is facing the death penalty, which shortly after BK was arrested, Bryan was arrested, Idaho passed the law. She did get away with them. I'll just say it too. Yes, so did OJ. Idaho passed a law that they will be incorporating the firing squad. And this was after Bryan Kohberger was arrested. So they are reincorporating their firing squad. And if he is convicted and found guilty and receives the death penalty, it usually takes about a decade. If they don't have the cocktail to unalive him, put him down, so to say, like they do animals. So I like to say put him down because he is an animal if he did do it. If he did, he hasn't been convicted yet. I was upset at the OJ verdict too. And he'll go in front of a firing squad. So now what their tactic is they've been going, we've seen motion after motion after motion, trying to get the DNA thrown out. They did get the trial moved from Latah County, where the college is, Moscow, Idaho. It's a small town. They wanted it moved. They got it moved to Ada County, which will pull from Boise's jury pool, hoping a large pool, less bias is what they're hoping for. This trial is now set to begin end of August. Okay, end of August. There's a lot going on, and just recently, the 911 transcript and the text messages between the 2 surviving roommates have been released. And we're actually going to listen to Koff go over that today because she does a fabulous job on her channel, Break the Case. And I like the way she lays it out and explains it, because there's a lot of people who are really criticizing the roommates. And I know when we first heard it back 3 years ago almost, or 2.5 years ago, we all gasped when we heard there was an 8-hour window between when they called, right? And when they saw him and when they called, the two roommates. And, if we put ourselves in their shoes a little bit, being a teenager out drinking, you opened your door, you think you see something, you close it, they communicate through their phones, and she probably passed out and went to sleep. That's what I thought when I heard 8 hours, locked herself in. So all I need is Jesus says, O.J. Simpson's court hearing took over everything for my 16th birthday. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Hey, Ginger Girls, we're just getting started, everyone. I appreciate you being here. So we're going to go over BK, and then we have Lori Vallow. She is here in Arizona, where I am, about to go on trial beginning March 31st. She is already a convicted killer in Idaho. She will not be facing the death penalty, the firing squad in Idaho, because she got it taken off the table. So she has 3 life sentences in Idaho that she's serving, and that is for Caylee'S Ryan, her daughter, or I'm sorry, Caylee'S Vallow, her daughter, JJ Ryan, her son, and Daybell's wife. So Daybell is her 5th husband. She married him after Charles Vallow was killed. That is who this trial is for in Arizona. The bald man here in the thumbnail, that is her 4th husband. The one who was helping, that's Caylee'S dad. They adopted JJ together from another family member and were raising him. JJ has autism. And then, so she's on trial in Arizona. She's convicted for these 3 in the top. On trial for the murder of her 4th husband, and also in Arizona on trial for the conspiracy to murder, and he's still alive. They did not succeed. Brandon Bordeaux, who's on the bottom here, which is Vallow's niece's husband, but they're no longer married. Okay, so there's a lot going on. So what's interesting about it is she has decided to represent herself. She is her own attorney, and the judge has allowed it. They made sure she understood everything that entailed, and she is going to. So here, listen to this. Remember when she was convicted and they asked her if she wanted to speak, and she gave this big, long rendition, and we'll go over it. I'll actually pull that up another day. Good morning, Rusty Pipes. Wait, what? And she gave this big, dramatic speech. Well, she did the same thing. She was on Dateline last night, and I missed it. I was on live, and I didn't record it, so I got to go watch that today. So did any of you see Dateline last night? It was Lori's first interview since her conviction. So that was on Dateline last night. I'll watch it today. I got off last night wanting to watch it, and I had missed it. So here's the fun thing about it. She has nothing to lose, right? She's facing 3 life sentences. It's not fun. She has nothing to lose. So what this is keeping her out of a cell every day, right? When she goes. So think about that. Where would you rather be? Sitting in a cell or at your trial? And would you rather be sitting in a chair at your trial or performing? She loves to perform. We've seen it. We've heard it. I'll show you a little clip of it in a little bit. She loves to perform. So it's going to be a circus. So if you go to the trial, it's not going to be watching her sitting and listening like we normally do, where we see the defendant sitting through the trial, listening to everything being said. No, she's going to be the defense. She's going to do the defense's opening statements, closing statements, cross-examinations. I don't know if she has witnesses to call. So it's really going to be an interesting trial. That begins March 31st. So Kohbergers, end of August. Vallow'S, March 31st. And we are beginning with Casey Anthony today, because it's just absolutely disgusting that someone thinks that they cannot report their child missing for over a month, send law enforcement on a goose chase, accuse her father of horrid accusations, false accusations. And he took a lie detector test and proved And imagine that man having to do that, losing his child, losing his grandchild, and having to go through that. So they've just had such a rough time with this girl. The dad no longer speaks to her, obviously. Apparently, she speaks very little, but does still communicate to her brother and mother. And I read that she has a very small life, like one friend. Well, okay. What do you expect? And very small support group. Okay. Good morning, Christy Smith. Hello, everyone. I see a lot of members in today. We have our reunion today at 1 p.m. Eastern for members. Please come. Okay. So lots going on. We're going to start with Casey. I want to thank you all for being here. I had told you a few things were going to be coming down the pike. That we got to get some awareness out that is not only Sebastian along with Sebastian. So today we are talking about this because there are 10 victims today. 10 victims from these 3 people. I mean, imagine that. 10 victims. So, it makes me interested to think about this, and it just popped in my head just now. You know how they say serial killers, it's multiple kills and not at the same time, right? So what is Lori Vallow? Right? As a matter of fact, I want to look up the definition of a serial killer real quick so I can give you an exact definition. But look how many victims she has that we know of. I can only imagine, right? Hold on one second. We also have information about, oops, hold on. I just want to get this for us. Sorry, I'm on my iPad over here. So, a serial killer is a person who murders multiple people over a period of time. See? So Kohbergers, if he is our guy, all were at once. Because there's a cooling off period between each murder or something. The murders are separate events, okay? Motivated by psychological thrill or pleasure. Disgusting. Well, apparently Vallow says, JJ and Tylee were zombies, and she's doing a big religious spiritual awakening, and she talks to Jesus, and he tells her these things to do. And she recently interviewed with her son, Colby Ryan, who has a YouTube channel. I'm going to show it to you this evening, as do other family members have a YouTube channel, and they are just really upset that she decided to go to this trial rather than plead guilty and spare everyone of more trials. So crazy person, allegedly already convicted, already showed herself. And without further ado, we are going to continue because we are on a tad bit of a time limit. We need to be out of here in a couple hours just so we can get to our members live. And you never know what we're going to do on our members live, but we always have a really good time. And lo and behold, something important always comes out in those members' lives, whether it's someone who comes in that we've been waiting to hear from and shows up. We know what we're talking about from last week, right? Our New York caller. I mean, just so much always happens in ours. Or I'll say something, then someone goes off and we just go through our tangent. So great lives all the time, but our members' lives are a great way. We connect in there. We connect in here too, but it's just sometimes I can say a few things that I don't feel I can say out loud to everyone. Some members' lives I release to everyone, some I do not. It depends. So good morning, Charlene McPike. Hello, everyone. It's always good to see my friends. She should be in jail for the rest of her life. She got away with it. We're talking Casey, and she now lives in Tennessee. And the reason she's in Tennessee is she followed a married man there that she had broken up his marriage. He had 2 adult sons. She did love to date him, her friend said. While he was married, she enjoys the thrill. She moved to Tennessee with him. Once the wife moved out, she was there ready to move right in with him. She did. And once he was done with his marriage, she got bored. Her friend says she gets bored easily. Well, we know that. You were bored becoming a mother. It was boring. Allegedly. It's very upsetting. Let's get to her story. My coffee just went on my screen, and my screen's a touch screen. Hold on. Okay.
The timing is unclear.
Now, I will admit to you all, I am not playing this on her channel on TikTok. The reason being is I absolutely refuse to give her a click, a view, any revenue whatsoever. My friend, I have a friend that I've taught with for, 16 years. And she watches, Annie Elise. And she said Annie Elise put on that if you watch Caylee or, follow her on TikTok, that you're not welcome in Annie's channel anymore. A lot of people are feeling like that because if you click on her channel, what are you saying? Not guilty. So let me go ahead and put this in here for WKMG 6. Okay, this is their credit. I'm using their article because I do not want to go to her TikTok. I refuse. So for those of you who are wondering, what in the world is Jay talking about TikTok for? Mini Panthers, thank you for saying that. Being a mother is the least boring thing a person could do. It's fun. You wake up. What cute things can we do today? I always made sure we got up early before school so we weren't running out the door. We always played a game before school, whether it was a board game or basketball outside. Being a parent, it's creativity and it's unconditional love, and it's just have fun with it, right? They grow up way too fast. And nowadays in our world, they disappear way too soon. Okay. So this is the explanation. She has begun a TikTok channel. The reason being is she is a legal advocate and she is going to share her knowledge with the world. And guess what? She is going to be an advocate for Caylee, her daughter, who, in my opinion, she murdered and got away with. So, and by the way, the jury regrets that. The jury, Nancy Grace said last night or the night before, the jury does regret their choice now. Okay. It wasn't part of her punishment that she couldn't profit. All I need is Jesus. That's such a great comment. It must not have been. And when she got off, do you know who she worked with? And well, first of all, who she went to work with? Her defense team she worked for after she got off. Do you know who she lived with? Someone from her defense team. Very interesting. So she's very close to her defense team. That's her support. One friend in her defense team. That's right. Okay. Thank you, y'all. Please don't mention other channels. I know you're lovely and you're saying nice things, but inevitably someone says something nasty and then it's for everyone to read. So please, please, please. I thought that too many Panthers, that maybe they were together. So please, yes, she's lovely, but let's not mention any channels because I don't want anyone to say anything nasty because you know the hate we got around here. So this is WSMV. Let me put my banner back up. WSMV. And what's weird is when I came in this morning, we had 3 new members who had joined, but it's not showing up in here now. So if you were a member who joined this morning or someone who joined this morning, welcome in. Hey, Fine Summer's Truth. I hope you're feeling a little bit better right now. Lexi Lynn, Panda Bear's mom. So if you did join this morning, welcome to the family. I don't know why it's not showing up for us. So welcome to the family. Welcome in. This is the person we never want to keep seeing in the news who just will never go away. Casey Anthony.
But in a TikTok video posted over the weekend promoting her new online newsletter, Casey Anthony says she plans to discuss her daughter, her family, and her job as a, quote, legal advocate.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Anthony. My daughter is Caylee Anthony. My parents are George and Cindy Anthony.
In this TikTok video, Casey Anthony promotes a newsletter she's begun publishing on the website Substack. Subscriptions to that newsletter will cost followers $10 a month or $100 a year, although Anthony says she'll provide some content for free.
As a proponent for the LGBTQ community, for our legal community, women's rights, I feel that it's important that I use this platform that was thrust upon me and now look at as a blessing as opposed to the curse that it has been since 2008.
2008 is when Anthony was arrested for the murder of her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee. At trial, Anthony's lawyers claim the toddler accidentally drowned in the family's backyard swimming pool.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
After Anthony's acquittal and her release from jail in 2011, she began working for a private investigator who served on her defense team.
I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher.
For more than a decade, Anthony remained relatively low profile until appearing in a 2022 documentary on Peacock, in which the woman once branded Tot Mom maintained her innocence. Now it appears Anthony will be expanding her online presence.
I appreciate your time, and we'll see how this goes.
Anthony says she'll probably be discussing her parents who still live in Orange County, but Anthony claims her newsletters will mostly involve legal matters. To be clear, Casey Anthony is not a lawyer.
Disgusting. Please do not pay her 1 penny. I beg of you. We do not want to encourage other parents that they can do things like this to children and then make money off of it. Hey, KB. That's right. That's why I'm playing the newsreel that they already clicked on. Hey, Brown Eyes, never. Don't worry about it. You're lovely. I appreciate, Brown Eyes, the sweet comment you put, and I totally agree with you. I do. I just don't want someone else to go in and, you know how everyone is. So she is collecting money. She will give you legal advice because she's been involved in the law and the legal system. Y'all, she was on trial for murder. That's how she's been involved, okay? She's now been, this platform has been thrust upon her. That cracks me up. Like she just couldn't resist. No. Women's rights. And then she said something that bothered me. She's going to use it as a blessing, not the curse it has been. There is no blessing about what she has done. There is no blessing about the fact that Caylee never received justice. Never received justice while her mother was out and partying. Okay? None at all. And that's the truth. Casey was arrested for lying to the police. How many cases do we wish that would happen, right? Lying to the police. So, I have her timeline. We are going to go over it. Thank you all for being here this morning. I just want to go over her timeline a little bit, and then we're going to go right into BK, okay? Just to show you why I don't want you to click on her if you're not familiar with the case, okay? It's a heartbreaking case. She could have very easily asked her parents to keep the little girl because they loved her. They were raising her. She was living on their couch or living in their home, right? Freeloading. You're right, Lady for Justice. Unfortunately, because she was acquitted, she could do this. There's no justice there. You're right. And we have to put up with her keeping emerging. But what we don't have to do is participate. Okay, so I'm going to share with you her timeline of her gross crimes to get it in there that we do not want to have anything to do with what she's doing. It is going to be on, I'm sharing with you her biography. Let me make sure you all can see it. Yeah, look at those tears. So, oh, master liar. Casey Anthony the complete timeline of her murder case and trial. One thing I do want to tell you is I believe, well, let's just go through it. I don't want to make a mistake, but I don't think they found Caylee right away until afterwards. Okay, so in 2008, the world was captivated by the bizarre behavior displayed by Casey Anthony. She was 22 at the time, from Orlando. She spun a web of lies, and we know other mothers who do that, right? I can name off 10 of them off the top of my head. Okay. Excuse me. She was covering up the disappearance of her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee. So I want to ask the jury again, if you see a mother who didn't report her child missing for over a month, her baby, and she keeps lying to police and lying to police and lying to police, why in the world would you think she is not guilty? So that summer's the Facebook, she had photos while the child was missing of her out partying around town. She got a new tattoo that says, living the good life. I don't know how to say La Vida, but living the good life is her new tattoo. We see a lot of mothers get tattoos after their children pass away. And Caylee did. Her child had been deceased. We didn't know it. Her grandparents didn't know it. No one knew it except Casey that we know of. But she got a tattoo because she was living the good life. She was out partying. Okay. And the body wasn't found. Caylee, here it is, was not found for a year. Okay. A year later. And the sad thing is for a year, Casey Anthony pretty much drove right by her because it was Caylee was put right near the home. Horrible. Okay. There's no closure for those outraged by her neglect. She escaped conviction in 2011, while the questions of who killed her young daughter and why were never resolved. Well, in many of the public's eyes, they were resolved, just like OJ. Okay. Just like OJ. August 9th, 2005, Caylee Marie Anthony was born. Okay. Caylee arrives after, what is this? Hold on. Caylee arrives after Casey's repeated denials to her family members that she was pregnant. Wow. She has suggested several possible partners, including the then fiance, Jesse Grun, and another young man who supposedly died in a car accident. The identity of Caylee's father has never been publicly revealed. I wonder if the father actually knows they're the father, right? June 16th, 2008. This is when Casey drives off with Caylee, leaving the Orlando home that Caylee was raised in with her grandparents, Cindy and George Anthony. But the day after it was the day after an alleged family argument. Okay. On Father's Day, June 15th, and Casey leaves with her young daughter and rebuffs efforts to reconcile in person. So she leaves June 16th. She's upset. Argument with her father on Father's Day. Okay. She leaves with her young daughter. And she doesn't want to reconcile in person. Now, it's important to bring up that it is not mentioned in the timeline that at that time she was upset with her father because he had unalived her daughter in the pool. Okay. None of that was there. Okay. That came out later. And it's not true. He took a polygraph and it was a horrible accusation against her father who helped raise that baby. Then you have July 15th. So you go June 16th to July 15th. And by the way, June 16th, she drives away because of the argument on June 15th. And I want to point out June 15th is the day Summer Wells went missing in 2021 from Rogersville, Tennessee. When I see that date, I always want to bring her up. Okay. She is still missing and we need to bring that angel home too. So July 15th, Cindy reports Caylee missing because she learns a family car used by Casey had been impounded. George goes and gets the car. And by the way, he's a former law enforcement. He's overwhelmed by the smell that remains, even after a bag of trash is removed from the trunk. Okay, when Cindy calls 911, she says it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car. I mean, imagine as a grandparent, as a mother, as anyone. And Casey reports that Casey has been missing for a month, and she made a string of 911 calls that day. Casey's arrested that day, the next day. Okay. Casey leads investigators on a pair of wild goose chases, first to the uninhabited apartment of nannies named Zanna Fernandez Gonzalez, who she said ran off with Caylee on June 9th. And then she took them to, and by the way, that is a real person who was actually harassed and had no idea who the child was. And the apartment had been uninhabited for months, like 3 months. And then to Universal Studios, where Casey pretended to have a job. She actually walked in with law enforcement, carried out the whole thing. They parked the car. She had her badge on. She had her uniform on, walked in, walked through, kept going down the hallways. And then finally she turned to law enforcement and said, "Oh, you got me. I don't work here anymore." She was arrested for lying to investigators and interfering with a criminal investigation. This is the beautiful girl we are speaking of. That is Caylee Marie Anthony. Look at that precious, beautiful angel. Precious, precious. Coming back in to see you all real quick. Make sure everyone... OJ could have put right, said he did it and Ellie couldn't touch him, the book he wrote. Well, yeah, because they can't be taken back in, right? Once they're acquitted. That's why they say in these cases, this is a good example, is we don't want a case brought too soon before they know they can get a conviction. For instance, in Sebastian's case right now, right? We want them... Megan Boswell, absolutely. Reminds me so much of Casey. So does, if you want to know the truth, KP. Okay? Because Casey was out living her best life. No one would have known a child was missing. So think about that. Who does that sound like? Allegedly, in our opinion. Many, right? Megan, KP. How about Don and Candace? How about Oakley Carlson's mother still out there gambling at the casinos, right? Disgusting. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I hope you have your coffee, your orange juice, your tea, whatever it is you do. Thank you so much for spending this Saturday morning with me. We're discussing 3 things that have been in the news lately, 2 upcoming trials. 1 sad acquittal of a woman who is now calling herself a legal advocate and going to advocate for the very child she did not care for, she neglected, she unalived and put in a wooded area near her home and drove by there for a year, letting her decompose. Okay? So she lies, she goes to trial, right? And she is acquitted. There has never been justice for this little girl. Never. Okay. And she's now, like I said, she lives in Tennessee. So Tennessee now, not only does Tennessee have such a problem with trafficking kids right out of their own homes, drugs, children missing. They have so many problems for the children. Now they have Casey Anthony. Okay? So Tennessee's got issues, in my opinion. Welcome in, everyone. We're going to go over the timeline a little bit more. Not all of it because it's a long one, but I want to go over the end of her trial. Okay? I knew I was missing something cute. Oh, your emojis. There you go. Okay. Excuse me. That beautiful face. Mm. So July 22nd, Casey's declared, and this is 2008. Casey is declared a person of interest. And just a reminder, let's go back because Caylee was, she was 3, about to turn 3, okay? So now, okay. She's declared a person of interest at a bond hearing, and it introduces evidence that a cadaver dog had zeroed in on the odor of human decomposition in the car trunk and the Anthony's backyard, as well as Cindy's admission that they had all seen Caylee after June 9th. Okay. Casey's being held on relative minor charges because it's for the lying right now. The judge is disturbed enough by the evidence and the young mother's seemingly indifferent behavior. So the lack of emotion and indifferent behavior, he set a $500,000 bond. The judge didn't like it. Okay. And then you have a bounty hunter who comes in and pays the bond, hoping Casey will lead them to Caylee. 10 days later, the bond is rescinded. She's arrested for allegedly stealing and cashing checks from a friend. Wow. And angry crowds are demonstrating outside the Anthony's home. Okay, you all? So when the bond was rescinded, crowds got angry. They gathered around the grandparents' home. And the bounty hunter said, I gave it my best shot. She didn't want to talk to me. What can I say? So it was a mess, in my opinion, from the beginning. She returns to jail by the end of the month. Other parties start combining to post her bond. It was just unbelievable. Okay. And then in October 14th, she is charged with first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter, and 4 counts of providing false information to law enforcement. In response, she hires Jose Baez, which we know is a very high-profile lawyer for celebrities. Usually he is hired to get celebrities out of the messes they've gotten themselves into. Okay. And he says, my client's actions will become clear at trial. When we have spoken, everyone will sit back and say, now I understand, and that explains it. Well, we have never sat back and said that. Never. The forensics reports from Casey's car were released in October 24th of 2008, and it reported that a hair strand discovered in the trunk is microscopically similar to those found on Caylee's brush and showed characteristics of apparent decomposition. Additionally, an air sample from the trunk is found to contain chemical compounds consistent with human decomposition. Yet that was not enough for the jury. The lying, the not reporting or missing, the forensic report, the partying instead of searching, the lies, not enough. The fake nanny, not enough. December 11th, 2008, the skeletal remains of a young girl are discovered. So the bones are found in a bag in a wooded area less than a half mile from the Anthony's home, and they were found by a utility worker. It's later revealed that Kronk, the utility worker, had sought to convince police to search the area back in the summer. So he had asked them to search it 6 months before. That's an interesting statement, right? Okay. Then 9 days later, they confirmed those remains are Caylee, although people were convinced because it was so close to the house. And Caylee's death, the medical examiner reports that the bones showed no evidence of trauma. Caylee's death was being ruled a homicide of undetermined means, although the skull was found with duct tape around the nose, mouth, and jaw. The advanced state of decomposition ultimately prevents investigators from pinpointing an exact cause and date of death. Okay. And then the grandpa, this is so sad. Let's just jump to January 23rd, 2009. George is taken into custody after a suicide attempt. That's the grandpa. George is reported to be despondent, possibly under the influence of medication and alcohol. He's located at a hotel, writes a 5-page suicide note because this person took his grandchild. And then this person blamed her for essaying her and the grandchild and unaliving the grandchild in the pool. So that poor man went through all of that because of the child he birthed was an ingrate, in my opinion. So prosecutors say they're going for the death penalty. She doesn't even get that. She doesn't even get to sentencing because she is acquitted. And this is when they start, Baez's opening statements target right on the grandpa. Okay. He opens and shocks everyone, saying Caylee drowned in the family swimming pool and George covered it up and it was an accidental death. Well, later on, she says he unalived her in the pool and essayed her. Casey does. And he alleges that George had essayed Casey, igniting her habit of lying to cover up pain. Wow. Okay. George denies it, later takes a polygraph and passes. Wow. So a witness offers his theory about the smell in Casey's car. Please. This is May 27, 2011. Now we're 3 years down the road. The manager of a towing company that impounded Casey's car in June of 2008 testifies that he had encountered multiple vehicles with dead bodies during his 3 decades in the business, and that the smell from Casey's car was consistent with those past experiences. The fiance of Casey's brother takes the stand and describes the very special bond between Caylee and her mother. A forensics expert takes the stand and explains the shockingly high amount of chloroform, a chemical released by decomposition, as well as one that can be used to knock someone unconscious, was detected in the car trunk, led to his conclusion that a dead body was indeed present. His testimony was contradicted, though, by an FBI scientist who compared it to household cleaners. The amount found in household cleaners, not chlorophyll. Okay? So she was searching things. They did say the mom was searching it, but the mother was not home. She claimed to be searching on the computer. They believed that the mother was trying to protect Caylee because there were weird searches on the computer, and it was at the time the mother was at work. Chloroform was searched a whopping 84 times. Head injuries, ruptured spleen, oh my gosh, chest trauma, and internal bleeding. Think about that. Chloroform, 84 times, and looked up head injuries, ruptured spleen, chest trauma, and internal bleeding. Those were the searches on the family computer in March, which was 3 months before. Okay, here are the grandparents back then. They look far much older. They are still married. Grandma has a lot of panic attacks. And Grandpa does not speak to her. He's been put through the ringer. As she walks around, she blames him for her sins. Okay? She later refutes her testimony. In a crucial day for the defense, Cindy claims she was the one who researched the chloroform. She testifies that a stain found in the trunk caused by Caylee's decomposing body was there when the family purchased the car 8 years earlier. Now remember, she's the lady who says it sounded like a damn dead bodies in the car. So she's protecting her daughter. Okay. So then we have the closing arguments. And we all know that there never was justice for Caylee. And we all know that this individual still walks free, right? She still walks free. And her daughter, gosh, 2008, let's think about it. 2017, she'd be 20 now, right? That baby would be 20 now. So she has not gotten to experience life. Hi, Laura Y. Hi, Little Red. Hello, Ocean Joy. Hello, everyone. We just finished talking about Caylee Anthony, and I hope now that you know what you know. Oh, thank you, Stephen. I'll check your replies. Thank you. And now that you know some of this, if you weren't aware of it, I'm asking you not to go over to her TikTok. Don't sign up. Don't ask her for legal advice. And don't give her the attention for advocating for a child she unalived, allegedly, that we know. I mean, she did. She got acquitted. I don't know how the jury did that because, I mean, unbelievable. So anyway, that is why we will not give Casey Anthony any attention. That is why you're hearing some YouTubers saying, like Annie Elise did, my friend told me, if you're following her, you're not welcome here. So yeah, I want to be your bestie. So that's that, right? Walking around free, just like OJ was. Now she's going to cash in on her unaliving of her daughter by saying she is going to advocate for her. I would love to know how that would look, because she'd have to look in the mirror. I would love to know how she would advocate for her own daughter that she was responsible for. Very interesting. Wow. Let's get to BK, friends. You ready for Bryan Kohberger? Hello, Purple Sneakers. Hello, Carolina Chartier. Ocean Joy, Mrs. Machete, all my mods in the house. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. We have a little bit of a smaller crowd today, but I'm happy to have you because there's we always got to let everyone know what else is going on in true crime too. Tonight, we will be discussing Sebastian and other Hendersonville children, 3 who have been unalived since Sebastian went missing. So Hendersonville has some troubles there. So we're going to focus on them. You know what I worry about Hendersonville before I worry about a lot of things about Hendersonville. You know that. But I worry that they have a sheriff who made a statement, snuggle, R, you know what I'm saying? R is just snuggle trouble. And I think that is just so devastating of a statement coming from your leader of law enforcement, because there's 2 reasons I feel that way. I feel like he's minimizing the crime, the violation, right? He is. And which therefore minimizes what the victim went through. Snuggle trouble. So if someone violently forces themselves sexually upon someone, what Craddock's saying is it's just snuggle trouble. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's so disgusting and wrong, okay? And you think about anyone who has been AR'd, how that makes them feel to hear. Now, that's one reason. Now think about if you have a sheriff who minimizes a crime like that, a serious crime like that, is your crime rate going to raise? Well, guess what? Their first homicide in 2025 was of a child. They have a child who's been missing for a year, Sebastian. They had Piper Elliott, whose mother drowned her in broad daylight in the public park in the lake river. Okay. And we have Trinity Bostic, who was never reported missing to us. We never got the alert. They found her 4 days later, her remains in Hendersonville. Why did they think Hendersonville was a good place to leave her? Those are things that concern me. Remember also, while we were searching for Sebastian, there was a little boy who someone from Ohio was a pervert pedo on the internet was communicating with a boy in Hendersonville. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, but I worry that minimization of one of the dirtiest acts of crime, other than hurting a child, well, and it could be a child that we're talking about, but it's just nasty to minimize it. And if you minimize crime, you're going to see a raise in crime, in my opinion. Hey, Star Lambert, how you doing? Good to see all of you. All of you. Yes. So good. So we are going to move on to Bryan Kohberger. Hey, Mama of Five. Good old Bryan. Bryan has been arrested and charged with the unaliving of 4 University of Idaho students. Forgive me for a second. I want to pull up Cough before I do anything, because she does a great job going over the 911 call and text messages, and she's very into the case. And then I'm going to go through I'll go through the timeline of the murders and stuff. Okay. But I do want you, recently has been released is, recently that has been released is the 911 call. As you know, 2 roommates survived. Thank the Lord that they did survive. And Bethany and Dylan, both females, by the way, and they survived. And now we know, we hear the text messages, and it's just, you can feel the nerves, the fear. And remember, these are kids, teenagers, okay? Or, I don't know how, 20s, okay? 19s, 20s. And something's going on in their home. They've been drinking. They don't really realize something's going on in their home, okay? The one sees something, closes the door. Hey, y'all, would you give it a thumbs up, please, so we can get this out there? Thank you so much. Hit that like if you would. Yeah, I do trust her opinion too, Little Red. So she's going to go over the 911 and the text with us. And I might skip through just so I'm not showing her whole video. This is going to be credit to Cough, Break the Case right here. And she does a fabulous job of talking through the text messages, what they could mean. The girls were clearly scared. Bethany even says to Dylan, come to my room, come, run. So, we're going to go through those. I do want to say that people are being very, as we know, with true crime, there's 2 sides to each story, and people are being very cruel to the roommates. As far as judging them, why they didn't call right away, why this didn't happen, why that didn't happen. Okay. So let's listen to Jen Coffindaffer, Break the Case, former FBI agent. An honor to have her in our true crime community. She is an absolute true asset, has been an asset on Sebastian's case, and is very much into the Idaho 4 case. So without further ado, I will be playing Jen Coffindaffer, because they have released the 911 call from November of 2022 from the house on King Road, which, by the way, has been demolished. It's no longer there. So if the jury is not going to get to walk through, they're not going to get to go to the crime scene. I feel that's so important. Remember, in the Murdaugh trial, they went, and that one juror said, I didn't realize how small the feed room was, and things like that. So there are things that are really important when you actually put yourself there. This jury will not have that ability to do so. Let's go ahead and listen about the 911 call, what's important about it, what happened, and the text messages. And I'll pop in back and forth, and I'll be stopping it for fair use so we can talk about it. She's such a wealth of information. We learned so much from her.
very female and a beautiful, beautiful girl that will be traumatized the rest of her life. This is what happened at 4:28 and 08 seconds. Dylan texts.
In other news, Arizona residents are going to be happy to hear this. It just came out. There's a new
Bethany. No one is answering. Dylan texts Bethany again. I'm really confused right now, RN right now. Then Dylan texts Caylee. Caylee. That's in quotes. Then Dylan texts Caylee again. What's going on? Now, I've had a lot of people say, why didn't they just get out? You see this intruder walk by, you see all this happening. Why are you texting? Now, first of all, these are young people, and young people are all about convenience. And they use their phones and they text without a thought. In other words, this is no big deal, in my opinion. No, she didn't go check on her. This is in the middle of the night. It's dark. She is under the influence and she's not sure what's happening. She's confused, but she does reach out via text, which makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know about everybody else here, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. But for those of you who, no matter the size of your house, if you want to reach out to your child and say it's time for dinner, do you scream across the house like our parents did? Do you go to their room, and leave your fillet of tilapia and your dirty rice that's cooking because it's about ready to be served up? Do you have your husband go do it? Whatever it might be. I'm just saying that with the advent of cell phones now, I know personally, and I'd love to hear from you, but when you live in a big house and they lived in a big house, it's not unusual to call your child. Hey, come on, we're getting ready to leave on a trip, or hey, it's time to eat, or hey, are you okay in there? Or, come on down. We're all getting ready to play cards, whatever it might be. I personally don't go to their rooms and reach out. And I'd love, like I said, to hear from you all, but I think it's because the advent of cell phones. Add on to that, triple that situation, because young people are hooked to their phones. That's how they communicate. They do everything through them. So that was one of the questions on Twitter. Isn't it so odd that she doesn't just go check on her? No, I don't consider it odd. There's also, something to be said, I guess, for the privacy thing. Again, she has no idea. She sees this stranger, which she believes is a stranger, which is clear from not only what we saw in the probable cause affidavit, but now we're seeing it reinforced in text messaging that is corroborative evidence, which is exactly why the prosecution put what they put in the probable cause affidavit, because it's supported by independent information, which are these text messages. So this is exactly what you're looking for to see if witnesses are telling the truth. And this made it abundantly clear that Dylan Mortensen was telling the truth. Okay, fifth line. Then Bethany says to DM, yeah, dude, WTF. Then Bethany says to DM, Zanna was wearing all black. And I think this is clear to me that she's trying to say, hey, Dylan, could it have been Zanna because she was wearing all black?
Hey, y'all, real quick, I want to ask you. I don't know what you guys are, I'm looking at your thing. Okay. That's what I was going to ask you. Do you all, if you have kids at home, do you all call out to them? Do you text them? How do you let them know? By the way, that tilapia and dirty rice sounded good, didn't it? How do you get a hold of your children if they're in the home? Now, my mom and dad used to call each other all the time from their cell phones in the home. Okay. So do you all text your kids when they're home? Do you call out like our parents used to scream across the whole house? Little Red goes to the bottom of the stairs and calls up. What do y'all do? Because these girls are being ripped apart for not exiting a bedroom when they're terrified to see what was going on. How many of you would have? Honestly, I don't know that I would have. I had someone My whole family left for church when I was younger, a teenager, like 14, 15. I had been babysitting late the night before, so I was home. Well, when they saw, 7 others leave the house, they thought they had an empty house, right? Well, I had my own line in the house. My parents had put my own line in. I was the only girl, and I talked on the phone so much that they couldn't ever get a call. So they installed my own line. So I'm on the phone talking, and I hear the front door open. And what do I think? I think it's someone coming back for a Bible or something they forgot, because it was that quick. No. My dog starts barking. I go out my room to the top of the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs in the foyer is someone with a red beard, red hair that I did not know, standing near our silver trays and settings. And I was standing there at the top. He was standing at the bottom near the silver. I obviously made a noise on the floor. He looked at me. I looked at him, and y'all, I froze. And guess what I did? I ran into my bathroom, which was right next to me. I had 2 double doors in that bathroom, locked them both, and called for help. But did I call 911? No, I called my friend back. So I was a kid too. So yeah, I froze. I still to this day can feel that feeling, and I froze in place, and I looked at him, and what's my thought? You know what my thought was. He's going to hurt me. He's going to harm me. He's going to come grab me. So I turned around and booked it right into that bathroom, locked both doors. But did I call 911? No, I called my girlfriend back. So, when we're younger, we don't think of sometimes the brevity of a case, right? We just don't think about it. Sometimes we just don't know. And Star Lambert texts her son. Okay, that makes sense. All I need is Jesus. And she's using all caps because of her eyes, please. My mom yelled about everything. I live in a small apartment, so I just go ask my daughter whatever. It takes less time just to go to her. Okay. Little Red says if they had emergency stairs on the windows in the rooms upstairs, they could have gotten out. Yeah, because they were trapped. Maddie and Caylee were trapped in Maddie's room. When he entered the door, from what Caylee's parents have explained, when he came in, he basically blocked the entrance, right? Very, very, very sad. Very sad. Elza W., they were drunk. So I think the alcohol helped them fall asleep. They were confused, as she said. So let's just keep going. I don't think they thought it was a killer. Would you have, in your head as a child, think, oh, a killer's in the home? Especially when they had so many people who went in and out. Maybe she just thought that person was visiting. Who knows? But with COVID, you see someone with now she's explained it now that it's a mask, not just the COVID mask. So let's just keep going. Oh, all I need is Jesus. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Yes, but see, we react like that in different ways, right? I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Hi, Bobby X. Okay, we're going to keep going, everyone. And then we're going to talk about his autism defense, the DNA under the fingernails, things like that have recently been released too.
When she was out that night, could it have been Zanna? Zanna. I think that's what the message that Bethany's trying to give to Dylan Mortensen. And Dylan says, I'm freaking out right now. She says, no, it's like a ski mask almost. So a ski mask also, almost.
In other news, Arizona residents are going to be happy to hear this. It just came out. There's a new website.
That's how Dylan describes what the person's wearing. Not, Zanna dressed in all black, but basically describing the ski mask that covered the entirety of the head and the face. She goes into more details. Bethany then says STFU, right? She's not understanding this. She's trying to process everything. Remember, people, no matter their age, are going to make logical conclusions and have logical thoughts based on their experiences. So these girls have never been in a situation like all of us. None of us have ever been in a situation of a quadruple murder. None of us, I would say, unless there's somebody out here that's been a victim in this way, has had somebody enter their home and brutally slash their loved ones with a K-bar knife. This is nothing you would just jump to as, oh, I bet they're going to be murdered. Oh, I bet a horrific murder took place in my house. That's not what you would be thinking, because your files in your head, I call them our recordings, right? What we know, what we've seen from our experience, they're not going to lead Bethany and Dylan to anticipate the carnage that ended up being in that house. Yes, Dylan saw somebody. Yes, she's confused by it all. Could it have been a burglar? Could somebody have just broken in and stolen something? Yeah, she's confused. She knows that there was recent activity with the dog. You know, she's kind of irritated, thinking that Caylee is playing with Murphy and wants him to be quiet. She keeps peeking out the door, you know, if you watch the probable cause affidavit. And then when she sees the intruder walk by dressed in all black with the ski mask on, she's terrified. And I also want to comment that this is just a snippet of what we are going to find out from Dylan. I've had a lot of people and seen a lot of people on social media that are out of their minds saying, see, they lied on the affidavit. There's nothing about her being frozen in fear. There's nothing about this. There's nothing about that. They have hours of interviews with Dylan and with Bethany, meaning law enforcement. These girls have told them so much. They've reached deep into the recesses of their memories. What they told law enforcement back then is what's most likely going to be the most fresh and most meaningful in terms of their recollections of what happened. But believe me, there are pages and pages of what we call FD 302s, which the FBI would have been involved in those interviews. I don't know who did the write-up, but no matter what, whether they're MOIs, you know, memorandums of interviews or 302s, whatever, what that all mumbo jumbo means is there's going to be interviewed information from them, and it's going to far exceed anything we saw in the probable cause affidavit, and certainly anything we see in these text messages. So for those of you on your platforms, when you see people come on, or you're on somebody else's platforms following this, and you see them berating the cops that they're lying, berating the cops that the probable cause affidavit is inaccurate, berating these survivors, please tell them to, you know, get off, block them, mute them, because they have no idea what they're talking about. Zero idea what they're talking about. And those people have me pretty irritated today, because to victimize Dylan and Bethany all over again and what they've gone through over the last over 2 years, that this case has floundered, sitting around in the legal system due to Bryan Kohberger's attorneys. I mean, literally, we're looking at motions and having hearings over and over again. And it's irritating to see what happens on social media every time something hits, and how they go after these roommates. So I'm very staunch on that, because these girls were young, 19, and they did the best they could to understand what had happened at the time. Okay, then Dylan says to Bethany, like he had something over his head, or head and a little and mouth. And she's describing, you know, the black head covering, and then over the mouth and this whole area where.
We've got great news for seniors. The Social Security Administration has made a,
you know, nothing is visible like a ski mask. And so she's just being very specific. And this is such good news, I think, for the prosecution, because a lot of people, everybody's wondering what state of inebriation was Dylan in? Was she able to process? Was she about to pass out drunk? Was she, stumbling and mumbling? It doesn't appear from what we see here. She's so specific when she describes the mask. She's so steadfast that no, it's not Zanna. It's not Zanna in black. They had a mask on. I think this is very good for the prosecution because it shows more clearly her state of mentality. Then DM says to Bethany, "I'm not kidding. I'm so freaked out." Then Bethany says, "So am I." Then DM says to Bethany, "My phone is going to die, F-U-C-K." And then Bethany says, "Come to my room." Bethany says, run down here. So does Dylan's phone die? I think it probably does. Why do we know that? Because it appears that the phone call that was made, the 911 call that's later made, is made from Bethany's phone, not from Dylan's phone. So did the phone die? And I know everybody has said on Twitter, but what about a charger? These girls should have a charger in their room. Yeah, on a perfect day,
There's an explanation right there. Excuse me. High consequential delirium. So the amount of, okay, we're going to go ahead and mods. I would like you to watch the chat, please. I mean, you're doing a great job watching the chat, but people are starting with their nasty talk. Okay. I have just banned someone. We are not going to talk about those girls being responsible for their friends being unalive, because that is not the case. The person who did it is responsible. We're lucky they are alive. They're lucky they're alive. What they chose to do staying in those rooms is the reason they're alive. Okay. So I will tell you then 8 hours later, now we have a little bit of an explanation that her phone was going to die. And Bethany's saying, "Come to my room down here, run." So maybe like Jen's saying, Koff's saying, though her phone died. Maybe. Hi, criminal men. Maybe her phone died. And that's what happened. And they fell asleep because, like Koff and Def are saying, is when the 911 call's made, it's made from someone else's phone. Because the person talking is saying, explains that one of the roommates is passed out. She was drunk last night and now she's not waking up. And they're passing the phone around, okay? Trying to explain, and I'm sure it's hysteria. Hey, Whispering Winds, I'm sure it's hysteria, of what, teenagers all trying to talk, figure it out, passing it around. You know how that is. No. We are allowed to our opinion. Absolutely. But I don't want us to sit there and say they're responsible for murder, them being murdered. Let's be gracious of the way we express those opinions. To many, it is very confusing because it didn't add up, that 8 hours, someone witnessing it and not doing something about it. But she went in a room, locked herself in and got safe, was drinking, started texting with her roommate. So I think we're going to get more explanation that will help it add up. Right, Bobby? I mean, that's what we hope the trial will give us, right? The trial is going to be heartbreaking, Elsa. Yes, absolutely. But all I'm saying is let's be kind with our opinions. Let's not say Bethany and Dylan are the reason their friends aren't alive, okay? Because that is inaccurate. But you're always welcome to your opinions. Please remember that. Happy Saturday, criminal men. So let's go. I'm going to jump to her reading the 911, or talking about the 911 call now. Because remember, we have our members live in, oh my goodness, in an hour. I'm going to have to bump it a little bit, a half an hour. So we have our members live. We're running out of time. I didn't realize. Oh, no. Oh, yes, we do have it. It's in an hour. So we have our members live in an hour. And we have a great time. It's 1 p.m. Eastern times. This week we did an extra one during the week. And we have a great time. We talk about a lot of things. We learn a lot of information. I wonder if the DM had forgotten or lost her phone charger. Well, I'm wondering too, Ginger Snap, because they must have been terrified that it says Ginger Snap. I agree, because sometimes I don't always have my phone charger in my room. I move it around. And this, actually listening to this, made me think I'm always going to keep my phone charger there in my room. This actually made me think that. So let's go ahead and go back and see if we can find the explanation of the 911 call. Thank you all for being here. They were scared. She even says, I'm confused. Give me a second, because I'm going to find the 911 call now.
Call. And then they give the address, one call that was placed. All right. So it starts off with, of course, the dispatcher saying 911 location and emergency. So A, meaning answer, on the transcript that we see. Actually, do they say A means answer? I want to make sure. A equals woman, yes, but anyway, they've designated it as A. Maybe it was because they were going in chronological, A1, A2, A3. But nevertheless, it's a woman. They don't say whether it's Bethany or Dylan, but it is clearly Bethany or Dylan. And I'll tell you why we know that. We know that because they specifically talk about something happened in our house. So it can only be Bethany or Dylan that made the call. And then they give the address, 122. So as you know, if you go visit a friend, you may or may not exactly off the top of your head be able to recite their address. They then say 122, again, confirmation that it's Dylan or Bethany. And they talk about, is it a house? Yes, it's a house. Can you repeat the address? Then A1 gets on the phone. Now, A1,
there is a big secret being hidden from drivers, so check this out before this video gets taken down. If you're paying any of these,
who they described in the transcript as woman one, A1 is the neighbor. She says that. She says, I'll talk to you. We live at the right, so we're next to them. So I believe this to be the neighbor that came over in all the commotion, and she takes over. Why does she take over? I believe, and even though, you know, these are written words, so we can't hear, well, in trial, they'll be able to hear the hysteria, the crying, what's happening. But we know from court documents, that's what's happening. And I hope to post some of them today. But essentially, they talk about the A1, the person getting on, and she repeats the address. So to me, it was a cooler head that came on, somebody that was likely less emotional than Bethany and Dylan were being, and that's why the neighbor took over the 911 call. They talk about the phone number, that's all blacked out. And then she says, the dispatcher saying, okay, but what's really going on? She's very focused on what's going on at that time. And that's when the neighbor says, one of our roommates, and then she changes it to one of the roommates because she doesn't live there, who's passed out and she was drunk and she's not waking up. Okay. They are clearly, and it actually says in the motion of limine that I didn't post, they are talking about Zanna. They're clearly talking about Zanna being passed out and not waking up. The dispatcher says, okay. And she says, oh, and they saw some man in the house last night. Yeah. So she's already, Dylan and Bethany have told her about this man being in the house. Again, all this corroboration that shows the truthfulness of Dylan, and that she repeated it to the neighbor. And so, but they're talking about Zanna. And are you with the patient? I need somebody to keep the phone, stop passing it around. So clearly there's a lot of commotion going on with this dispatcher, and she can hear that the phone is changing hands, probably multiple conversations and people and crying and hysteria. When we hear that call, I think that's what we're going to hear, even though we can't see it on these pages per se. Then she says, okay, then, sorry, Dylan and either Dylan or Bethany get back on the phone. A1 is now off the phone, the neighbor's off, and says, can I just tell you what happened pretty much? And to me, the weirdness that's happening here is the dispatcher wants to just get to this passed out girl. She wants to be able to guide them on rendering aid, on really trying to figure out what we have here. And so she's trying to keep them on task with what's going on there. But it's clear that Dylan and Bethany are concerned, whoever's A is answering, trying to tell this dispatcher about last night, about this man who was in the house. So clearly their thought process is in large part on that with the dispatcher. But the dispatcher says, when she asked if I could tell you what happened, the dispatcher says, what is going on currently? Is someone passed out now? That's when Dylan and or Bethany, one of them says, I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. So do you see what's happening? They're trying to ask about Zanna. I don't think that the girls, Bethany or Dylan, that are responding, they are so much more concerned about what happened at 4 a.m. They're not even really concentrating because they think Zanna is passed out drunk. What they're concerned about is this intruder that was in there. So they keep diverting the conversation with the dispatcher.
I used to sell car insurance until I discovered something that made me sick to my stomach. What I'm about to show you changed.
Back to what they're concerned about, which is the person that it was at the house at 4 a.m. All right. Let me get back on my screen. Apologies. All right. Sorry, going back again. All right. So again, she says, but I want to tell you pretty much at 4 a.m. And that's when the dispatcher cuts her off again. It says, okay, I need to know what's going on now. If someone passed out, can you find that out? So this dispatcher isn't even allowing Bethany / Dylan to tell them about what happened at 4 a.m. And I'm not blaming the dispatcher. I think the dispatcher is trying to deal with what she's trying to figure out, if it's a life that needs to be saved. But I'm just saying this is important to me, and I think it's important, hopefully, to everybody, that Dylan and Bethany are very concerned about what happened the night before concerning the intruder. Then they go on, and the dispatcher says, okay, and then they pass the phone off again to the neighbor. And I'm sure Bethany and Dylan at this point are irritated. They're trying to explain, they're probably in hysteria, what all has transpired, and they're not getting any reciprocation from the dispatcher, so they pass the phone off again. And at that point, the dispatcher, the neighbor says, hello, and the dispatcher says, okay, I need somebody to stop passing the phone. I've talked to 4 different people, so the dispatcher is very irritated. And then the neighbor says, okay, sorry, they just gave the phone to me. And then the dispatcher, is she breathing? And then the neighbor, hello. So it's clear to me also by all of this happening that there's so much confusion and people are having trouble even understanding or hearing. In other words, it seems as if the neighbor, because she keeps saying, are you there? Hello, hello, to the 911 dispatcher, she can't hear, likely because of all the commotion. And I think when we get the 911 tape, is going to be fraught with hysteria and crying and sadness, and it's going to be very difficult to listen to. So then the neighbor keeps apologizing. I'm sorry. The dispatcher, is she breathing? Again, the neighbor, hello, is she breathing? The neighbor says, no. The dispatcher says, okay. Then the dispatcher says, a different dispatcher says, okay, en route. Then the neighbor says, Bethany or Dylan, I need you to talk with them, okay? I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them. So now the neighbor, I think, likely distracted with Zanna. They're not distracted, but trying to figure out Zanna. Passes the phone off. She's calling on Dylan. You guys take this. I'm dealing with Zanna. That's how I read that. Now, this is really important. And everyone is blowing up about this. Why? If there was so much blood that we saw blood, which was accurate, dripping down the outside of the house that had gone through, the wood where it interfaces with, I believe there was concrete block right there, but nevertheless, where it dripped on the outside of the house. How can you have that much blood and have Zanna laying there, not in a pool of blood? I'm going to tell you because I've seen people that have been stabbed. I have treated people as a tactical medic, tactical EMT, I should say. I want to be very specific. They call us tactical medics, but there's paramedics and there's EMT, and I'm an EMT. I've treated people who have been stabbed, and I can tell, one woman was stabbed multiple times, bam, 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 by her boyfriend. And she was walking and talking, even though she had a perforated lung. When a knife goes in and it's not, jagged, edged particularly, but when it smoothly goes in and comes right back out, the skin closes. And unless they've hit an artery, oftentimes those stab wounds close with very little blood coming out. It's the same thing with a gunshot wound. If you ever have seen somebody shot and seen it in person, or applied an occlusive dressing for nurses or medics out there, it's not what you imagine.
That's what we're going to. Hi, Jules, to Callie. Good morning. So that was on my mind too. How are they looking at Zanna in this massacre, bloody scene and saying, I don't know, she's just not breathing, right? So StreamYard's Wi-Fi is messing around right now, y'all. I have one bar, just so you know. If it kicks me out, I'll come back in. So, and I'm glad Jen explained that. If it's not jagged and it goes, and we know the knife he used goes in and out, the skin closes because it's a smooth cut. That's really interesting. She's just amazing of knowledge for us. So that could be why they're looking at Zanna and not understanding that she's been stabbed and is no longer with. Because I was wondering the same thing. How does she just look like she's, unconscious from being drunk? So now we know, very, very interesting. And sadly enough, these are the victims: Caylee, Ethan, Zanna, and Maddie, whose lives were taken in a bloody massacre, November 13th, 2022. They have arrested Bryan Kohberger, who is a doctorate student in criminology. And you know what, y'all? I've thought all along, and he's being charged with the 4 murders. I have thought all along, because of his background. And remember, they said, hold on, there's a question here. Was she between the bed and the wall? Caylee was stuck against the wall, like she couldn't move. They said when her parents said she was kind of pinned against a wall. She couldn't, you could tell she couldn't get out. Fun fact, Caylee and I are in the same sorority. Okay, so they, where were we? So he is charged with their murders. It has been, they arrested him, I believe, like New Year's Eve. And when they showed up at his parents' home in Pennsylvania, we all, if you don't know, there's a ride where he drives from Washington, where he went to University of Pullman College for his doctorate, back to Pennsylvania, and he and his dad are stopped a couple of times. Well, the FBI are up above, and we heard the story where the FBI are trying to follow them, keep an eye on them, and local law enforcement stops them twice. So FBI thinks, oh no, they're going to take them in. This is going to be blown, because they're planning on following them to Pennsylvania, because he's in the car that they've spotted, that's been spotted near the crime scene. He's got the bushy eyebrows. Okay. And when they do get to his parents' home in Pennsylvania, they see him disposing of the trash wearing gloves in the neighbors' trash cans, not his parents. And when they actually go into his home, which I heard was quite a scene when they broke in, everyone was sleeping but Bryan, and he was standing in the kitchen at the sink with gloves on inside the house, plastic gloves, and putting his trash in Ziploc bags. So explain that one, right? And his touch DNA, the touch DNA on the sheath from the knife that was left under Maddie Mogen's body, does genetically prove within a 99.999, it's just impossible that is BK, Bryan Kohberger. But what they're saying is someone could have put that there after he touched it sometime, right? So now all these motions they've put forth, one after the other, I think because he's a doctorate student. Remember, he put out interviews. How did you feel when you committed your crime? How did you choose your target? All of those things. And he said it was for his doctorate. Well, I think that he planned this. He wanted to do the perfect crime. And my goodness, he left without leaving. I mean, blood in his car. Nothing was in his vehicle. No trace. And I think it is with his knowledge of education in crime and forensics and all of that, he had fun planning a murder. He had fun planning the perfect crime, right? He is having a blast trying to think of loopholes and motions. I think he's helping right there, throwing things out. He's in there on his little iPad. What else can we go for? Okay. And I think he's enjoying that. I think he likes the thrill of being able to find, keep throwing motions in there. He's enjoying the game. So, the defense tried to get the term bushy eyebrows out of trial. That's ridiculous. That's her initial description, right, Criminal Med? That's silly. That is silly. So, I recently heard he was actually in his bedroom. Jules to Kelly, who are we talking about? You all have such interesting comments. Sorry, I get distracted sometimes. Yes, he's still thinking he's going to walk, in my opinion. Yes. So then most of their motions have been denied. Well, they're right. They have trimmed his bushy eyebrows, if you notice. Yes, I'm getting to that one. They've recently also released that under Maddie Mogen's fingernails is DNA, and it's traces of 3 different individuals blended together. One is Maddie's, one is appearing to be Bryan's, and Kohberger says she would assume the other one would be Caylee. But interesting right there. So if that DNA is there, they can't say someone took that knife sheath, right, and it wasn't him there, because that DNA on her nails would put him there. So motions have been denied. He is facing the firing squad in Idaho that they enacted and put into place after he was arrested after these murders. So if he does get convicted and does get the death penalty, that is what he might be facing in a decade if they didn't have the cocktail to put him down. And I say put him down like an animal, because that's, if he's found responsible for this, that's what he is. Okay. So now they're using autism as a defense. And I want to explain a little bit, because I've heard and listened to some of the experts in the last couple of days. When they introduce autism as a defense, what they're doing is they're trying to save his life at this point. Okay. They're pretty sure that, they're feeling it. He's going to go down, allegedly. So they're trying to save his life. And, because autism may get the death penalty off the table. Do you understand? Okay. So, but here's the issue is, in order to ever be able to say, guilty by reason of insanity or, autism, mental capacity, you have to admit that you committed the crime. Okay. Now in Idaho, you can't say insanity. I just use that as an example. So if he's going to use the autism defense and they're going to get a diagnosis, I don't know if he's had one before, they're trying to get one now. I don't know. We will know, right? I know it makes me really upset too, Little Red, that they're using it as an excuse. But the thing of it is that he has to admit to the murders in order to get that defense. So very interesting. And, when we think about, I don't know how to say it, we're going to watch some videos, and I don't think we're going to have time today, because I did want to have you look at it and see, do you think he's autistic? And we will do that, but I'm afraid we're going to run out of time today. So the thing that's interesting to me is that's their motion to strike the death penalty. They have it sealed, okay, and redacted. And autism, we know, impacts communication and social. And in one of the videos, he looks very sounds socially awkward when they say, "Where are you going?" And he's driving from Washington to Pennsylvania, and he says, "For Thai food." Okay, that could be, does he have specific obsessions? Does he get upset when his schedule's interfered? Right? Does he not understand his own emotions? Does he not understand all the time the emotions of others? Does he make eye contact? So there are things that we can look at in those videos, but I just think it's absolutely a ditch effort to save his life. Absolutely. But remember, they have those mental health posts that he posted back when he was younger. I don't remember what age. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I don't. Some of you may know. And they are, it reveals that he doesn't relate with others, that he doesn't fit in with others. Okay. That he sees himself as different than other people. So he writes all these posts. So we'll see what comes of it. If he is convicted, now let me explain something. The autism defense will not come into play of whether or not he is convicted of the crimes. Okay. The autism defense would only come in after and if he's convicted during sentencing, okay, and mitigation, the punishment phase. That's when that would come into play. Not an excuse for the murders, not any of that. They're not excusing the act. They're saying he's autistic, so we don't want to take his life because there were challenges there. That's what they're doing, okay? So it won't come into play it won't come into the trial phase. It'll come into the sentencing phase, just to be clear. So we all know that it's just gone on and these families, my goodness. And when it was moved to Boise or to Ada County, these families, now they have to arrange to travel for their own children's. Those who wouldn't have had to travel have to arrange to travel. I mean, it's a mess, in my opinion. I just don't feel like it needed to go to Boise. You know, I kind of feel like if you're in a place and you feel and you commit a crime, I don't care. You know, you're going to stay there and we're going to find a jury. You know, it's just, I don't like all the transporting him around, and I don't even like it that he's wearing a suit, that they got it, that he was allowed to represent himself in a suit when we usually see everyone else in their little jumpsuits. It's not fair. And you know what? Caylee's parents were upset about that. I saw that in an interview. Why should he get to wear a suit? Right? Why should he? Okay, so that's where we are. So what they're going to have to do now is what they'll end up doing is we'll end up seeing autism experts coming in, right? Because remember, it'll apply to the punishment phase, but not the act of the crime. Okay. So we will now see experts. Both sides, though, will bring in experts, because we're going to have the defense bringing in experts that are going to, tell us, someone with autism very likely could not be held to the fullest extent because, this was lacking at that. We know what they're going to do. And I feel for everyone who is an advocate for people with autism, who is raising someone, who loves someone, because I think it's going to be very offensive in some ways to those individuals, because using something that is very serious to so many as an out if it turns indeed not to be accurate. Put a 1 in the chat if you do not think he is autistic. Put a 1 in the chat if you do not think he's autistic. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he may be. No, the suit's not hiding anything. He snuck in the night. I'm watching the numbers while I talk. He snuck in the dark in the night with a knife and a mask, dressed in black with the uniform, like a one-piece uniform. They now have proof he purchased. I'm envisioning like a Carhartt one-piece work thing that they have not found. That's probably why he didn't get his car messed up. Allegedly, he was carrying a vacuum. One roommate says that they believe they saw a vacuum in his hand, a handheld vac. Can we use 3 for something else? Okay. He could be. He could be, but here's the thing. And someone said it in the chat earlier. 3, that's cute. Y'all are so cute. Yeah, they're saying I think it was Dylan, came out this past week that she saw something in his hand like a handheld vacuum. Well, when you think of him, I think he's obsessive about cleanliness, because they said his apartment, not an ounce of trash. By the way, his shower curtain was missing in his apartment. And I think he's obsessive. 3 for sociopathic tendencies. Absolutely. And hold on one second. I have a message. I just need to make sure it's not. Dane is still missing, by the way, and I will add him to our live tonight. Okay. I will add him to our live tonight. And Little Red, I'm sorry. I just saw that you messaged me the other night and I never even saw it. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I didn't get back to you. So we don't know, but he makes eye contact to the officers when they're talking to him. Even ones pre-murder, there's a video of him. We'll watch them. We'll compare them. Okay. We won't have time today, but we will come back to that. We'll put our thinking caps on, our eyes and our ears, and we'll see what we think. Because as a group, we know a lot about autism. Okay. He came back, Kim French. Yes. He came back the morning of the crime. A few hours later, about 5 hours, at about 9 o'clock, after 9. You know why? In my opinion, he was in Pullman wondering why in the world he wasn't seeing or hearing anything about this. He lived like 11 miles away, wasn't on the news, nothing. So I'm sure he's just massacred people in this home. And he's wondering, what's going on? Why am I hearing nothing about this? So what does he have to do? Curiosity. He's got to go see, right? He's got to go back to his perfect crime, in his opinion, that he's planned and plotted with his brilliant education. He does give off voyeur vibes. He gives off very odd vibes. I'm not kidding. He's weird, in my opinion. Okay. So, very strange. Very strange. So many of us think he is not. Let's see. Most of us think he is not. Little Red thinks he might be. So the vacuum, was he there to, what would he vacuum? He can't vacuum up blood. So maybe he thought he was going to vacuum up anything, hair, things that dropped off of him, or might have picked up from the home that he made sure he'd vacuum and not transfer into his car, right? So there's a lot going on in this case, a lot. And unfortunately, we are not going to get to any more of Lori that I wanted to, other than I want you to listen to her son, Colby Ryan, her living child who has survived, what he's had to go through. Him talking about her upcoming trial. And I'm just going to give you a little blip because I feel for him. Go watch his channel. It's wonderful. And then also there's another family members of Lori Vallow. They have a channel called Silver Linings where they follow what's going on with her case. And they're not happy that she is putting them through another trial. So let me go ahead and share this real quick with Colby Ryan. And then I will also go watch the Dateline thing after my Members Live. Don't forget, Members Live is in, oh my gosh, half an hour. Hold on, let me get this. We're going to real quick play Colby's part. I want you to hear what he feels about this. Where's Colby? Colby. Oh, darn it. I guess. Wait. Let me see. Did I not pull it up for? I don't know. Let's see. No. Maybe I don't have Colby pulled up. Okay, well, we'll watch it another time. I want us to get off of here so we can go to our live. So we are going to get off of here. There's a small handheld vacuum that forensics uses to collect DNA evidence. See, and being the kind of student he is, Ginger Snap, he would know that, right? That is a great point. I want to look that up. Thank you. Oops, I almost got the wrong one. Thank you. They're 6 inches. Is that what I'm seeing? Wow. Okay. I'm writing that down. I want to look at that. We'll look at that again. A handheld vacuum. You all are so amazing. Well, we are going to be meeting tonight for all the kids in Hendersonville in the last 11 months. We are going to, thank you for sharing that, y'all. I'm putting it, collect DNA evidence. We are going to have our members live in about 40 minutes. I'm going to go grab some breakfast and coffee, and then we'll be back on tonight. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. I will do a part 2 where we get into more of the Idaho 4 details of the case and where we get into Lori Vallow's upcoming trial and why she's been convicted, what they did to the kids. And by the way, Reverend Donna Serafina, who we went over that reading that she did on Sebastian, just devastating reading, but she did lead. She's told us that she led law enforcement to JJ and Tylee and got the reward. Okay. So she's excellent. And I appreciate all of your insights, observations. that handheld vacuum for DNA evidence, 6 inches. Thank you for that. We learned so much from each other. I appreciate all of you being here. Prayers up for all the victims. And I will see you all in about 40 minutes at Members Live or at 8:30 Eastern Time tonight. Blessings to all. Have a great weekend. And by the way, I appreciate each of you spending your time with me every time you're here. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. Hit that thumbs up on your way out and subscribe if you haven't yet. Thanks, Mini Panthers. I will go into, Minnie, I'm going to go into this live as soon as it ends, and I will take care of that. Thank you for the reminder. Talk soon, everyone. Have a great March 8th.